have two phenomenal speakers, and I'm so glad you guys are here. I wanted to introduce Martin Small to you. He was born in Poland. During the Holocaust, which claimed both his parents and his two sisters, he lived in various ghettos, labor camps, and concentration camps. After living in Italy and Israel, he immigrated to the United States in 1950. Martin is an artist who was primarily in wood carving and sculpture. His works are on display worldwide, including the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem. He and his wife Doris now live in Colorado, near their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Please help me welcome Martin Small.
Good morning or good afternoon, whatever it is.
Morning.
My name is Martin Small, and I'm a Holocaust survivor, as you know. With great pleasure and pride, I accepted your invitation to be here today as a participant of this year's Holocaust Awareness Week at Boulder University. As we know, this year's Holocaust Awareness Week theme is Be a Voice for the Voiceless. And it is dedicated to the memory of a great man, and especially for me, my friend and my leader, the late Simon Wiesenthal, with whom I spent many months together in the most notorious concentration camp, Mauthausen. Then, together liberated as skeletons by the American armies. After many years, we found each other, and together, under his leadership, worked many clandestine operations in many parts of the world. Simon Wiesenthal, as he was known, the Nazi hunter, the man who searched and found many hiding Nazi killers and their collaborators and brought them to justice. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to know that Simon Wiesenthal did this for revenge, but he did this for justice, and I repeat, for justice. Let him rest in peace and forever be remembered. I personally would like to thank Hillel Committee and so many devoted co-workers supporting and organizing, among others, the Holocaust Awareness Week. It is a symbol of great importance, especially for someone like me, a Holocaust survivor, for keeping the flame of remembrance still burning. And as an answer to so many silenced by the Nazi barbarians asking us to remember them. And let my presence here today be an answer to those who still say the Holocaust never happened. I and many survivors like me gathered here to give you an eyewitness testimony of the brutal, painful, unhuman dark days of the Holocaust. We are here to remind the world of yesterday's Nazi era, a bloody era, an era of brutal extermination of Jews and non-Jews alike. To learn about the Holocaust is to try to identify with a human tragedy which is far beyond your own experience and imagination. Yet, we know it happened. In order to understand, you must feel the pain and suffering of those who lived through and eyewitnessed the horrible years of the Holocaust, and miraculously, I repeat, miraculously, survived to tell their story. Murder has been with the human race since the days when Cain killed Abel. It is not a novel phenomenon. But we had to wait until this 20th century to witness with our own eyes a new kind of murder. A murder which the most unhuman method of torturing, starvation to death, never heard in human history. I personally, in labor camps, witnessed in ghettos, concentration camps, the utmost unhuman behavior by the Nazi, the SS, and their collaborators. The people from many countries, centuries, countries, many beliefs, beaten to death, tortured, torn by dogs, shot, gassed, and many killed, burned alive, for refusing the SS demand to kill Jews and others. The German SS and their collaborators from many European countries who hence were, and some still alive today, are soaked in Jewish and non-Jewish blood, where many millions perished. 6 million Jews and 1.5 million children among them perished by torturing, hanging, gassing, burning, and many being buried alive. My friend, my family of 86 people were killed. I am the only survivor today. Different. There's a difference between the Jews and the non-Jewish victims, and let me explain to you. The non-Jewish victims were killed for not agreeing with the Nazi SS ideology. But the Jewish victims were killed just by being Jews. As my good friend Eli Wiesel said, and I quote, "Not all victims were Jews, but all Jews were victims." You, ladies and gentlemen, you are the last generation to see before you a real Holocaust survivor. Facing you, and with great pain, telling you his real story, the brutal and unhuman years of the Holocaust. You are the future leaders, educators of the world of tomorrow. You are the future leaders who must listen and learn, to lead, and to build a better tomorrow and many tomorrows to come. In a world of peace, a world of love, trust, and respect, in a free world for all mankind. As I told you, my name is Martin Small, I'm a Holocaust survivor. I was born in a small town in Poland. My father, my mother, my 2 sisters, and a very large family. I still remember everyone from my family, my grandparents from both sides, and many cousins. We had 3 synagogues in our town. One synagogue was called the Cold Synagogue, which is used only for the weekends, for Saturday, Friday, Saturdays. The others were for the week, and one was like a small yeshiva. I graduated Polish school and Russian school, and I attended between 12 and 14 years in the yeshivas out of town in different states, in different towns, cities. There were many stores in our hometown most of them for farmers. It was a primitive town. We had no running water. The only running water was a stream a half a mile away from where we carried on the water. No electricity. We were farmers. I worked very hard with my grandfather on a farm, going to school. And we lived with the population, the Polish population, pretty well. I haven't got much time to explain many different things, but I will tell you certain things. One of my best friends, a Polish young man, with whom we ate together, we slept together, we played soccer together, chess together. When the Nazis came in to our small town, he came into my house and took me out and took me to the police station. He became a collaborator immediately, most of them. And he tied me up on a bench, naked, and put an iron in the oven and took out the iron. I saw the iron red hot. He came close to me, he says, "You're not going to fight me no more," because we used to fight. I was a strong young man. "I'm going to burn you alive." Slowly, very slowly. It's hard to explain you what went through my mind. I said goodbye to my parents, to my sisters, to the world. But mostly I prayed to God to take me as fast as possible. I'm a great believer in God. And I think God heard my cry. And another friend of ours, even worse than this one here, walks in the room, tells something to him, he runs out, and he unties me, tells me to go home. I don't remember how I got home. I just remember I woke up in my mother's arms hours later crying, and I was a big boy. When the Germans came in our hometown, the population with whom we lived like brothers and sisters immediately came out with flowers and kisses to the Germans, welcomed them for coming and thanking them for coming. Now we can kill the Jews and take everything away what they have. The first day, they took out immediately 10 or 20, I don't remember, young boys and girls, and they shoot them right in the middle of town. Then every single day, and no Germans were there, only our hometown Polish people. They took out, they used to rape children, little children, in front of the parents. And the parents came in and said something, they shoot them right away. We had no food, we were locked up in our homes. And many came to broke the doors, the windows, they robbed us, we couldn't say boo. A month, 2 months later, one of the top policemen, I knew him very well, his sister went with me to school. And she used to come. He was the biggest killer in town, raped the kids and everything. She came at night to our house and brought us food. I hope I'll meet her one day. I don't know. I tried. I'm sending letters all over. She took her life in her hands because her brother would kill her. A month or 2 months later, they came, the same man who tied me up, tried to burn me alive. He came to the house and said, come with me now, I will take you to a different town. We are taking painters to a bigger town, Baranovich, 28 kilometers from my hometown. They tied us up, the hands back, and with rope to the wagon. We had to run after them for 28 kilometers. I am not going to tell you how two of my friends died. They fell down and being pulled by the horses, by the wagon. We came to Baranovich, to the ghetto. I don't know if you know what a ghetto is. A ghetto is, they took part of the slums from the town. They put barbed wire in a space where you could have, I would say, 2, 3, 5,000 people. They put in 75 to 100,000 people. When I came in to the ghetto, they let us into the ghetto. I slept, I would say, the 10th or the 20th from the steps in the middle of the streets. We had killings there, I would say, every week, twice a month. They killed 5, 10, 20,000 people. Then you got closer there to sleep. They gave us only a piece of bread and soup once a day. The only people who had more food who worked outside. They came here, farmers, many other people who looked for free labor. They came and they took us out and we worked there, then they brought us back to the ghetto at night and they gave us a piece of food to eat. I was standing with a friend of mine from my hometown. He was a painter. And a tall German man in brown uniform, not the SS, but the SD. I don't know what it is exactly now. And another man, a Polish man, an interpreter. And they asking for painters. My friend picked up the arm and said, Martin. So I picked up my arm too. And they took us both out. The Germans said something to the Polish man, take him home. And he went to his office. He was the main office. This German doctor, Dr. Wichmann, he was the man who signed the papers. How many people to kill every time. And I worked in his house. We had to paint the inside of the house. While going to their house to show us what to do, the Polish man was walking on the sidewalk, and we walked in the middle of the road. He called me in, my friend, and he had a stick, I don't know, iron or rubber, whatever it is, and hit us over the head. When I came back there, I don't think I know what I was doing. And we worked over there. I used to come in the morning and pick up the Germans' boots and polish. He came out very politely, said thank you, took out the boots, very nice, and came out with a piece of bread and cheese. I was very happy. I was hungry. As he gave us and he walked back into the room, the Polish man came over, took away from me, and with your feet, messed it up. He says, you pick it up, I'll kill you. This happened many, many times. While being in the ghetto one Sunday, somebody from the outside goes like this. That was a few months later. So I look around and I recognize a Polish man, one of 4 brothers, and he was the oldest. He was my father's very dear friend. His brothers were in the police, killers. We came closer to the ghetto, and when the Ukrainian, we have all Ukrainians, Lithuanians, and Polish watching all around the ghetto, and around the other side with barbed wire. When he moved away, he came over and says, Martin, you have no more family. They killed him yesterday. Everybody, they buried him alive. My brothers, he says, did this too. You know how I felt? I said to my friend, I'm not going to be here no more. The same day, the next day, the Germans came in to kill people. So we were hiding somewhere. Before they were killings. So the German said to the Polish man, says, don't take him home tonight, because they will be killing Jews tomorrow. We need him to finish the job. Their time will come later. So I talked to my friend, I spoke Yiddish to him all the time. The doctor had a maid. There were many Russian POWs working on his farm in the back. To me, I would say 100% she was Jewish, a Russian Jew. She understood exactly what we are talking. And I told him, I'm not going to stay here no more, I'm going to run away one day. One day the doctor was not there and the Polishman was not there. She came over to us. And she brought 2 packages, small packages. She said, this, you'll have food. And if you are cold, there are 2 coats hanging there. And the doctor's wife would like you to go to the room, a bedroom, and fix something behind the bed. Okay, we walk in, and she walks away. We walk in, and we move the bed. While we are moving the bed, the end tables were open, and 2 handguns were in one, and 2 handguns in the other, loaded, and a box of ammunition on each side. I said to my friend, you see, she's telling us to go. We put on the coats, we put pockets in the guns, and I said, I know the road because I came many times to this town with my father. And we walked out, and we walked straight to the town. I told him, anybody comes to bother you, just shoot him. Believe me, I wouldn't know how to shoot him, but that's how it goes. We went through out of town, luckily, and we lay down in a farm. It was still light, and in the fields, and we waited till we got a little dagger. He said, where are we going? I said, we are going to go to by our hometown. I knew that one of my cousins is hiding by a non-Jewish friend, on a farm. So we went there. We went fast. It took us. We had somebody driving a horse. We went on the horse and told him to drive us. We came there. It's a Polish farm. The name Gladki, I hope, is in Gan Eden. And I knock on the door, and he comes, I said, Martin, in Polish. I'm glad you are here. You run away from Baran? I said, yes. He said, I'm hiding here, I think 7 or 8 of your cousins, plus other people, about 16 or 18 people. In the kitchen, under the table, they had a little door, and down below was enough room for 10, 12, we were 18 now. With us was 20 people there. We were very happy. We met our cousins. They told us how they killed our family. It was a great gathering together. In this doctor's home in Baranovich, I'm going back, they told us, they beat us all the time, this policeman beat us every single day. He says, there's a little house in the back. I don't want you to go and look in this house. And if you go, you'll be dead. One day they were not there. And I said to my friend, let's see what's in this house. We came to a window. And what we see in the window will stay with me for the rest of my life. A young little boy was sitting tied up. He was already not human. Tied up, and behind him a mechanical hammer was hitting him on the head like this. They were testing, the doctor was testing how long can a Jewish kid take pain without food and water. He was not human at all. I did not look in the other windows. I ran back home. I was sick. While we were sitting by the Polish man in the bunker, 2 days later, 2 horses. We were watching in the window, say 2 horses, policemen are coming. They came in, 2 policemen. We were down below. I recognized the voice of my friend from school. And they went, the lady was sitting right by the table and knitting. I think so, if I remember correctly. And he walks over to her, my friend, the Polish man, and he says, I heard that you are helping Jews or you're hiding Jews. Is it true? She says, no, why should I do this? And he repeats again and again. And she says, no. He walks over to her. He takes the carbine, the rifle, and he brought her leg right in the middle here. And they walked away. We had a doctor down below from my hometown. He came up right away and he started doing something there. They turned around and came back. And they walk over to her again. Tell us the truth. Are you hiding Jews? You helping Jews? She says, no. He broke the same leg in a different place. Well, the screams, I can't even describe it. The next day, I said to myself, I'm not going to stay here no more. It's too much. And I told him, Mr. Gladsky, I have to go. I met some other people there from my hometown, my friends, and they took us to the partisans. So I was a few days in the partisans, not Jewish partisans, Russian partisans. But they were anti-Semites. They were killing Jews. They caught Jewish partisans and they took away the ammunition from them, the rifles and the pistols, and they killed them. I ran away from them too. Me and my friend, we were together, Bafra, and we ran away. I don't remember where we were going. After a week or 2 weeks, while we were in the fields, eating the corn, whatever that, drinking the water from the dirty water, we were caught by peasants with rifles. And they took us to a labor camp called the Cello. which was between Baranovich and my hometown, from about 15 kilometers. This labor camp, they had factories for clothes, for the special clothes they took from the Jewish people, the mink coats or the other coats, for the soldiers to the Eastern Front, because it was very cold by Moscow. Watch making there, and most of us working like on farm. There were only people from around all the farms there, killing us every single day, beating us. One of my friends was hiding from school. He was hiding in a wagon with hay, and he was killed with forks. He was bleeding all over. I heard that they were digging a tunnel. So I joined them, digging the tunnel. They were digging the tunnel around, I would say around 50, 60 feet to a furrow. I was the first one to go out of the tunnel, and I was shot. The doctor was behind me, and he tied up something. Whatever he did, I don't remember. But most of our Jewish people who came out of the farm, of the tunnel, were killed. Because the Russians who worked on the fields, they knew about the tunnel, and they told them that we are going out, and they killed most of the people. We didn't know where we were anymore. After 2 days or 3 days, I think we were going south. I was with my friend, Bachrach, in the woods for many months. One day we went on a farm, and luckily there was a woman, and she gave us bread, water, and we helped her. Then she said, the neighbors will kill me. We have to go. So we went. And we walked for months and months. I really don't know how I survived. One day I heard shooting. After the shooting, I didn't see my friend anymore. I was all alone. A few days later, I hear a train. I said, oh God, that's good. I'll go to the train, maybe I'll find some food in the garbage. So as I was going to the train, I don't know, maybe I didn't see good, I didn't hear good. A German came over to me, why did you run away from the train? I didn't ask for him. And he said to me, go back to the train. When he walked me around to the train, I was very happy. At least I could sit down and rest in peace. That was, to me, a blessing. So we came to the train, and they made us clean the train. They were Hungarian and Polish Jews. Everybody was out. We had to clean the train. There were dead babies, children, women, older men dead. We took them all out. I'll never forget, we took out a baby. And the mother recognized the baby. And she went over to kiss the baby. And a German soldier came over and killed the mother and the baby. The baby was dead, yes, excuse me. We were going with the train about 3-4 days, Locally, I was with a friend of mine, somebody, Hungarian older man, shared some bread with me. They had all the suitcases, they didn't know where they're going, they had all the gold, the diamonds, whatever, food. We came to Austria, near Linz, to a concentration camp called Mauthausen. So I don't know how to explain it, but Mauthausen was one of the most notorious concentration camps on the shore. Mauthausen was not only Mauthausen. I didn't know exactly how many sub camps they had there. I was in 2 of them, and they were said they had around 8 or 10, but they found that they had more than 20. A sub camp is where the Germans are practicing methods how to kill people in the most unhuman, painful way, slowly. They didn't want us to die. They wanted to die slowly, painfully. Concentration camp is hard to define. I worked on the death stems, in the quarries. I was by the crematoriums. The same place a Byzantine was liberated with me the same day. I never knew who he was. I give an example, we were in the morning, roll calls. You get up in the morning, you sleep for hours, hot, cold, freezing, naked skeletons, 70 pounds. It's very, very difficult to explain. People fell down next to you, you try to bend down to take his shoe or his rag or whatever, you got killed. And after hours, the Germans came out with the dogs, with a big cigar, and you step out. And they put the dogs on them. They had no meat, what to eat, but they ripped him in pieces, they blood and everything all over. We were jealous on the dogs. I don't remember liberation. I was a skeleton of 70 pounds, 80 pounds. And when the Americans came, they left me. I didn't know, I was told later, I'll tell you how. They left me to die in my barrack. They cleaned the barracks, but they left me somewhere in a corner to die. I think it was barrack 9. When the American soldiers came, and they went through each barrack, one of the soldiers came in the same barrack where I was. And he heard something. Maybe I moved. He came over and he saw I'm still like alive, somebody. He picked up us out, 70 pounds, and he took outside and he took us to the hospital. I always ask God to meet the man who saved my life. When I lived in New York, I'm going a little further and now come back. When I lived in Manhattan, I lived near Central Park South. Central Park South, they were the mounted police in Central Park. There were about 200-300 of them. And I knew all of them, but one of them got stuck to me. I didn't like him too much, but he got stuck like a brother. We spoke many different things. He knew I was a Holocaust survivor, but we never spoke where or what, nothing, for many years. He used to come to my house. We went to his house. We were like brothers. When I moved to Colorado, the first week I spoke in Fort Collins University, and I just came home and the telephone rings, and I was a little tired. Who was on the phone? This man, one of the policemen, Jim Curry, Irish. And he said, Martin, where were you? So I told him I was speaking in the university. He said, what did you speak? I said, it's about the Holocaust. What did you tell him? He said, I told him I was here and there, and I was liberated in Mauthausen. When I said the word Mauthausen, he started crying. I said, Jim, you know, you wait a minute, it's a long time. He said, Martin, you go in Mauthausen? I said, yes. You never told me. I said, we never spoke about it. He said, I was in Mauthausen too. I said, you in Mauthausen? How can you be in Mauthausen? You're not Jewish. He says, no, I was with the American Army. And I'm going to tell you a story, but I tell everybody the same story. When we came in over there, I think he told me he was with another friend, a Jewish man, who is still his friend now. They live in the same town. I walked in a barrack, he says, I think it's barrack 9. And as I walked to the barrack, I heard something. And I saw a man laying down, a man, skeleton, laying down, but still moving a little. I picked him up, and I took him outside and took him to the hospital. Here's a man who I never spoke about anything from the concentration camps. Tells me that he was there. He came in the same barrack where I was, and he picked up a skeleton who was left over there. How do I know that I was left over there? While in Long Island, I lived in Long Island, in Glencoe there's a big Holocaust museum, and the director, a good friend of mine, he was also a Imam. He asked me to speak one day in a synagogue. And I went and spoke in the synagogue. After I finished, I'm going down the steps from where the rabbi was, where I spoke. A man comes in front of me crying. An older man. And you know, when you see somebody crying, you cry yourself. It's touching. He came over to me, you remember me? I said, no. I said, look better. I said, I can look from today till tomorrow, I wouldn't recognize him. I don't know who you are. He said, I know you. We were together in Mauthausen, we were together in the hospital. He says, you were dead. We left you in the barrack. He said, how do you know it's me? He said, I'll tell you. He said, we used to call you the rabbi. I said, yeah. They called me the rabbi because I think I was the only one who remembered some prayers by heart from back home. Once in a while, we get together, a few of us, and we pray to God. So he's the one who told me that they left me in the barrack to die. You know, many times in my life, I will not hold you too long. Many times of my life, I ask God, I says, God, I like to, would I do what this woman did, the Polish woman, which was hiding 18 people, not to tell the police that she's hiding Jews. Would I do this? While I was in Salzburg, after the hospital, I walked already. They were teaching us how to talk, how to walk, very important looking, how to walk. I was standing in Salzburg by the train. I always try to go to the train to escape somewhere from there. 3 women came to me and they said to me in German, are you a Holocaust? Are you born from Mauthausen? I said, yes. So she said, oh, you wouldn't talk to me. And this is a true story. I said, why should I talk to you? You came to me. She said to me, my husband was killed in Mauthausen. He was one of the big German SS. He was killed by American soldiers. Now they're trying to kill us. Oh, look at her, I was shivering. She takes out a pouch with gold and diamonds. She said, this is Jewish. My husband gave me this. I want to give this to you. I said, I don't want this. It's not mine. Don't bother me. I was shivering. She said to me, no, I'll tell you why. I have a reason to give it to you. I want you to save my daughter. This is my mother. It's me and my daughter. A young little girl, my sister's age. When she told me this, I did not see them anymore. I saw my mother and my 2 sisters. I did not know what went through my mind, and I said to her, there was a train with tanks and a Russian officer by the train. They were taking Italian POWs back to Italy. I said, do you have any liquor? She says, yeah. I said, go ahead and bring some liquor. God told me I didn't know what I'm doing. She went and they went away, I would say maybe 25 minutes or half hour. I did not move from this place. God kept me glued over there. And I was talking to my mother. They came back with liquor. Say, come with me. I walk over to the Russian officer. I spoke Russian fluently. I said, where are you going with the train? He looked at me like I'm crazy. I said, not going to tell you I'm going with the train. I said, I got something for you. And when he saw the liquor, his eyes went up like this. He said, we are going to Italy. I said to him like this, I should be the last one to do this. I said, this is my grandmother, my mother, and my sister. They were in a concentration camp. I want you to take them away from here. They followed him somewhere, I don't know where. I was standing or walking away. I don't know where I was, what I was doing. And the train left. And here I am in the middle of nowhere in Salzburg by the train. What did I do here? I saved the wife, the mother, and the daughter of a Nazi who broke my bones. I still can sleep on my back. But then all of a sudden, with a smile, and I lift up my hand to say, oh God, you answered my question, I could do it too. We all have human hearts. After this, I left by the same kind of, also by a train like this to Italy. And I lived in Italy for 5 years. While in Italy, I was the secretary of the Jewish committee in Italy, and I traveled to many places where we had many survivors. In, I think 1947, 48, I went to Italy. I went with a group of survivors. I bought ammunition. We got connected with the Israeli brigade in the Jewish brigade in the English army. And I bought ammunition. They told me what to do. A friend of mine who had a bakery, I'm making this very short, and I took to the boat, and I went to Cyprus. There were 150 survivors and lots of ammunition on the road. In Cyprus, we met Ben-Gurion, the prime minister. And when I unloaded everything, I said, okay, Ben-Gurion, Dubai. He said, no, you're coming with me. And when he said, you're coming with me, you don't say no more. I went to Israel, and I was in the 48th War of Independence. I fought for Israel. My best friend was Menachem Begin in Israel. Then I came back to Italy after 2 years, a year and a half. I went with my, I found out I have an aunt in America. She sent me papers and I went to America. I was very shortly in the United States, the same year. I met my friend and my wife Doris, with whom we still hang around for 54 years. And I have my daughter here. I lost a son, so rest in peace. My daughter has 2 children, and I have 4 great-grandchildren, and 1 on the way in 2 months. I am very happy to be here today because who knows if I'll be here next year. Believe me, I hope. I'm not a young kid. I'm 89 years old. And I would like to thank everybody for coming here today in this kind of weather. And being here today to listen to me. I could stay here for hours and tell you stories because it's hard to bring in 5 years of being with the Nazis in 1 hour. I'd like to thank you everybody for coming. And especially you girls for driving me here. You do a super job. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Gift for Martin, just thanks for being here and how much we appreciate you. A tree has been painted in your name in Israel. And then we also just have this is a small gift.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
If anyone has any questions, Martin will also answer those.
So, what you said you didn't know what kept you alive. When you try and reflect back on that, like, what was that thing that you held on to that kept you alive through all that?
Say it again, I can do it.
What kept you alive?
You know, there's a saying, while your eyes are open, you look forward. Okay, I don't know. It kept me alive.
Sorry.
Because when I was in the camps, in the concentration camp, I was in the labor camp. As I said before, that was a blessing. When I was by the crematorium, when you put the people in and take them out, I wanted to jump many times. I couldn't. I had no hand. Sorry. Anybody else? How are you? See my friend? How are you, Reza? Good to see you.
One more line. So, there's still genocide happening today across the world. What is the one thing that you could say to the people who are committing those crimes that may help them to understand the position they're in?
To the people, I don't know what to say to them. But we have to educate the people. They have to know, like I said before, you have to know what happened yesterday in order to build a better tomorrow. Today me, tomorrow somebody else. It is not only Jews.
No.
Jews, they were killed just for being Jews, as I said. But there were so many non-Jewish people. And before I go, if nobody has no more questions, I'd like one more thing to do. To ask everybody for a favor. To stand up, and I want to give one moment silence to very, very special people. People from other faiths and religions. People who put their lives on the line, and many gave their lives for not killing Jews and many others. So please, you can stand up. That's how I end always my speeches, all over. With a moment of silence for the very, very special people of God, God sent us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I wasn't here for first introduction, so we had a little trouble with weather. But it's my pleasure now to introduce Doris Small. She was born in 1923 in Berlin, Germany. However, she was born to Polish parents. After surviving Kristallnacht and months in hiding, Doris was able to escape to England on the Kindertransport, a child transport train. She stayed in England for the following 8 years until the end of the war and then moved to New York in 1948. Shortly after moving to New York, she met her husband, Martin, also a survivor of the Holocaust. They married in 1951, and in 1952 their first child was born. Doris and Martin lived in New York until 2003 when they moved out here to Colorado to be closer to their family. Doris.
Good afternoon. We're gathered here today this afternoon to speak about the Holocaust. As an eyewitness and survivor of the brutality and Nazi barbarians and their collaborators, where many millions of lives were perished. I'm here today to be a voice for the voiceless. Where 6 million Jews, 1.5 million children were among them, were taken away from us and killed in the most barbaric way ever known to mankind. I'm here to tell you my story, a true story of a survivor. As this young lady said already, I was born in Berlin, Germany, to Polish parents. My parents were married and both born in Poland and married there. They had 3 small children by the time the First World War broke out. But when the Germans came in and vandalized the place, they took everything away. 2 of the small children died. They were very young. Maybe they had no food. I don't know why they died. But the oldest one remained. He was a little older, a little stronger, and he remained. After everything was taken away, they had nothing left. My mother didn't know what to do. She heard her husband was a prisoner of war in Germany at that time. He was in the Polish army, drafted and taken prisoner by the Germans. So she took that little boy by the hand, as there was nothing else left anyhow, and walked all night. During the day, she slept over somewhere on a farm. Next night, she walked again and again until she came to the border. By the time she came to the German border, the war was practically over. And she just walked across, no passport or anything. She found the prison camp where her husband was, and they were reunited. But my brother, just being a little boy, and saw what the Germans did to them, he just hated Germany. He said, "Papa, I don't want to stay here. I want to get out of here." But he said, "Well, the war's over. You're just a little boy. Everything will be different from now on. And just take it easy." All right, he said, "But when I become of age, I'm going to leave." Okay. Anyhow, they settled down, and then later on in the early 20s, my sister and I were born. And just unfortunate, by the time I was 3 years old, my mother had an accident. She fell down a flight of stairs, broke her spine and 3 ribs. Doctor told her she has to go to a hospital for a long time to be in a cast. But she said, no, I can't do it. I have small children, I can't go to, Yiddish mama. I can't go to a hospital. So she stayed home and, of course, neglected herself. And instead of getting better, she was getting worse and worse until she couldn't walk at all. So unfortunate, since I remember, I don't ever remember seeing my mother walking or sitting up even, just in bed. But by the time I started school, 1930, there was talk about Hitler being the new chancellor of Germany, and wasn't going to be very good for the Jews. So my father said, well, I think we should put the girls right away in a Jewish school before it's too late. So we started going to a Jewish school, which was very nice. We had Hebrew every morning, 1 hour, from 8 till 9, and then we started regular school, but in the same school. And I was very happy in that school. And just unfortunate, I saw mothers bringing their children to school. I had no one to take me. We had no transportation. We had to walk. I used to go by myself. And finally, after 9 years of suffering, 1936, my mother passed away. So then my brother said, now let's get out of here. Things are getting too bad. But before we turned around, my father started getting sick. And 2 years to the day, he died. By that time, it was already 1938. And things in Germany were really, really bad. And my brother said, well, not that we wanted our father to die, but now there's just the 3 of us left. We're young, we're healthy, let's get out of here. But my father just died not long ago, and one morning, it was October 1938, exact date, 28th of October, it was a Friday morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, I was getting ready to go to school. The doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and a policeman was outside. And I was afraid to open the door. My brother came out, he was still in pajamas, and he said, "Open the door, but you're afraid. We didn't do anything wrong." And he went over, he opened the door. He said, "Are you Herr Gostinsky?" He says, "Yes, that's me." He says, "Bitte kommen Sie mit mir, please come with me." So he said, "Oh, just a minute, what did I do? I didn't do anything wrong." He says, "Oh, I know you didn't do anything wrong, but we just want to take you to the police headquarters, ask you some questions. He'll be back soon." He said, "Would you mind if I get dressed first?" I said, "All right, but make it snappy." He went with him to the room, leave the door open, and watched him getting dressed. My sister and I standing in the hallway, speechless, didn't know what to say. So he turned around and he says, "Don't stand here like two dumbbells. Why don't you go to the kitchen, make them a couple of sandwiches?" So when my sister heard sandwiches, she said, "We'll be gone for the day." Okay, by the time she made the sandwiches, he was gone. But he wasn't gone for the day. This was the last time I ever saw him. Never saw him since that day. But soon after this, we waited that whole weekend for him to come back. Monday morning was the 1st of November. The doorbell rang again. I saw the man outside that collected the rent every month. I've known him for years. He came every month, the 1st of the month, to collect the rent. So I wasn't afraid. I just have a little water, I'm very dry. Excuse me. So I wasn't afraid to open the door. I opened the door and I said, "Oh, good morning. You're here for the rent." He says, Oh, I didn't come for the rent. I came to ask you two girls to leave this apartment at once." I said, "Why? We paid up. We don't owe any money." He says, "I know you paid up, but you're two minors and you cannot occupy this apartment." So I said, "But my brother's not a minor anymore, and since my father passed away, it's been on his name." He said, "Oh, but your brother isn't here." So I said, "Well, he's only been gone 2 days. He'll be back." He said, Oh, he's not going to come back. He was deported and he will never come back. Out. So we didn't know what to do. We were two young girls. An apartment we were 5 people. Every time I opened the closet, I still saw my father's clothes hanging there. I saw my brother's clothes hanging there, because my father was only gone a couple of months. And I didn't know what to do with all these things. Where are we going to go? And we had no place to go anyhow. But he did us a big favor. He let us stay till the end of the week. We paid up for the whole month's rent, but he let us stay a little longer. Well, that week was Kristallnacht. I don't know how many of you heard about Kristallnacht, if you know anything about it. But if you give me permission, Rabbi Mark from B'nai Shalom asked me last year to speak to his high school students about Kristallnacht. His students were about the same age as I was at the time when this happened. And I said I'd be very happy to. Is it all right if I read part of the speech? I'm asking you. So I'm going to read to you part of the speech, if I can see. Kristallnacht. A night to remember, which happened over 60 years ago. A night that became an unforgettable nightmare for every day and night of my life. I was there in Berlin on November 9th, 1938, the dreaded night of Kristallnacht. Like a nightmare, we hear glass breaking and flying through the streets of Berlin, like flying crystals through the air. Every Jewish home, every Jewish shop and store were smashed and looted. Kristallnacht is not only and shall not only be a reminder of the ugly past, but shall become a guardian for the future. Just 10 days before Kristallnacht, my brother was taken away, and I never saw him again. It was very, very painful. Kristallnacht was not only a night of glass breaking or a night of robbing Jewish stores and homes, it was a clear beginning of the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were killed. The cry of little children being torn away from their parents, the cry of mothers and fathers being gassed or burned alive, cries which reached high heaven, but nobody heard them. And do you know why? Only because they were Jews. The world stood still, while Jewish blood was spilled and Jews were buried and burned alive. Cries of the Shema Yisrael at the last breath of life. How can anyone in the whole world understand us and listen to our cries? The broken glass were crystal stars. Only these stars were lives laying there. All was gone and lost. On those 2 days, 91 Jews were murdered. 30,000 were sent to concentration camps, where most of them died. No longer were we children at play or in school. We were less than alive. But we thanked God and we prayed. Today, as we are gathered here to remember the ugly and frightening past, we should not forget that clouds of anti-Semitism hang over us again. We must never forget the past, never, never. But fight hard the rising anti-Semitism confronting us now and in the future of our children and our children's children. We must thank God that Kristallnachts and exterminations will never be repeated. Kristallnacht, a night of broken glass, a night of broken spirits, a beginning to the end of humanity as we see it. Because the reason I read this to you is because a lot of people I speak to, and when I tell them about Kristallnacht, they say, oh, what's that? They didn't know what's crystal, what's not, you know. So that's why I told you this story, so now you know everything what Kristallnacht really was. Well, anyhow, after Kristallnacht, we could not stay any longer in our apartment. My sister and I, we just took a few personal belongings on a little suitcase. We didn't even know where to go. We just walked the streets. But we were very fortunate. We met a man that knew my father years ago. And he said, what are you girls doing here with a suitcase? I said, well, we have no place to go. What happened to your father? Because he knew my mother was sick, dead already. But he didn't know my father died. He just only died a couple months before Kristallnacht. So I said, my father died, and my brother was deported. I don't even know where he is. I haven't heard or seen him. And they threw us out from the apartment. We have no place to go. So he said, well, I have only one bedroom apartment, but you girls are welcome to sleep in the bathroom. So my sister slept in the bathtub, and he put up a folding bed next to the bathtub, and I slept on this. And we were very, very grateful for this. His wife was not Jewish, but she was very, very nice to us. I think if she was my mother, she couldn't have been better. She cooked for us. We sat with them at the table, ate with them. She was wonderful. But it didn't last very long. Before we turned around, next month was Christmas, and her brother came with a uniform, SS on his arm. He joined the army, and he wanted to spend Christmas with his sister. She said, quick, go into the bathroom, lock the door, don't make a light, don't even breathe. So we had to stay in there in the dark. He just wanted to drink and eat and be merry. Heard him singing and drinking and joking, and I said, oh my God, is he ever gonna leave? Way after midnight, it finally left. So She knocked on the door and she said, "You can come out now, girls. But I don't think I can keep you any longer, because my brother could come here anytime unexpected and he'll report us for hiding you." So again, we were on the go. Then her husband said, "I read in the paper that England opened up visas for 10,000 children, and I think the girls may be eligible. It's up to 16. And I was only 14 and my sister was 16 already. But as long as you're 16, you're all right." Excuse me. But in the meantime, we had to find a place to live. So there was a woman that her husband also was deported at the same time that my brother was taken away. At that day, October 28, all Polish men and boys from 16 till 60 were taken away. And my brother was born in Poland, so he was taken away. So this woman's husband also was taken away, and she had 2 teenage girls. She took the 2 girls into her bedroom, and she rented to us the girls' bedroom, which we appreciated. So we stayed there, and hopefully soon our papers will come through to go to England. But it took time. Easter came around, we still haven't heard from them. Finally, in July, the papers came through. I can go to England with the Kindertransport, but my sister was too old. Her birthday was in May, and this was July. She was 2 months too old. She couldn't go. But if she wants, she can make an application for domestic service. A lot of English people were looking for people to clean the houses and stuff like this. Well, she had no other choice, at least to get out of Germany. So she first made the application. We didn't know how long it's going to take, but I was hoping she'll come soon. Well, in the meantime, the day came when I could leave. My sister and this man took me to the station. When we came to the station, when I looked down, the platform was like an ocean of people, women and children, crying and screaming. And I said, "Oh my God, all those mothers have to say goodbye to their children." Anyhow, we went down to the platform. All of a sudden, somebody came from behind me and hugged me and kissed me, and she says, "Oh, I'm so glad you're going to be on the same train with my Fritzy." So I look around, and there was a girl there that I went to the school, the Jewish school that I went to. From kindergarten, 1st grade up to 8th grade, we were in the same class. But of course, I haven't seen her since my father died, which was in 1938. And this was already almost a year later, 39, because I haven't been back to school since then. So when I saw her, and I said to myself, "Oh my God, this woman brought this girl every morning to school." Oh, at kindergarten, 1st grade, she was little, but even up to now, she was already 12, 13 years old, 14 years old. She still brought her every morning to school. And whenever she saw me, she always had a kind word for me. "Oh, I'm so sorry, your mother is sick. You have to go by yourself." But we had no transportation to go to school. We had to walk or get our own transportation. Well, anyhow, so I felt so sorry for this girl. I said, "Oh my God, how is she going to say goodbye to her mother?" She was not spoiled, but she had a mother all this time, and to say goodbye. And then I said to myself, "Oh my God, I am so glad my parents are dead. I would never be able to say goodbye to them." And finally the train came. We got on the train. And as we were sitting and driving, of course, we were born in a big city, big buildings and cement floors. So as the train ran out of the city, we saw little houses and trees and grass, which for us, we don't usually see this. So Fritzy says to me, "It doesn't feel like we're going on a field trip from school and we're going to come back tonight to our home." So I thought to myself, yeah, she still had a home to get back to. I haven't had a home for a year. I've been wandering around, 9 months to be exact. But I didn't want to make her feel bad, so I just nodded and I said, yes, sure. And the train was going. I was like in a daze. All of a sudden the train stopped. I said, what happened? We came back to reality. Look out the window, and the Gestapo was outside. Our heart stopped and we saw all these men in uniform. They got on the train. I said, oh my God, they're going to take us off the train now. But I didn't realize we were at the Dutch border because we were going through Holland to go to the British Channel, to go to England. So they came on, they checked our passports, they checked our luggage, and finally they got off the train. We started breathing again. Opened the gates, we crossed the border, and we were in Holland. And again, train was going. All of a sudden, the train stopped again. I said, oh my God, Gestapo again? But when we looked out the window, there was no men in uniform. There were Dutch women out there with baskets of food. I still cry when I think about it. They brought the food to us, for us to eat, which I thought was very, very nice. We thanked them, we ate the food, and the train went on all the way to the channel. By that time, it was late at night already, almost 10 o'clock. We got off the train, and we had a few people in charge for the children, because the youngest one was 3 months old, and the oldest was 16, so there was lots of little children there. And they told us, we're going to take the boat to go across, across the channel. And it's 10 o'clock now. The boat is not going to stop until midnight, 12 o'clock. And 6 o'clock in the morning, we're going to be in Harwich. Everybody goes straight to bed. No fooling around, because you have to get up very early. Okay. We went to our cabin that we were assigned to, my girlfriend and me, and there were bunk beds, tossing the coin, which one we're going to take, the top or the bottom, anyhow. And then there was a little table there when you pick. I've never been on a boat, so to me this was new. We picked up the table, the top, and there was a little sink underneath, and then there was a little shower and toilet, and we thought it was so cute. Finally we went to bed, and she kept knocking on the bed. Are you sleeping? Like kids. So I said, no, are you? I said, I'm talking to you. Well, we were just having fun. All of a sudden, the boat started rocking. And I said, must be midnight. Better go to sleep. 6 o'clock, we have to be upstairs. So we slept 6 o'clock in the morning. We went upstairs. We took our belongings. And we took a train to go to London, which took another 2 hours. By the time we got to London, they put us in a big room, waiting room, and we were just sitting. A lot of people were there, and they call your name. We all had name tags on. They call your name. You go with this person, you go with this person. We didn't know where we were going. And I said to Fritzi goodbye, and I said, where are you going? She said, I don't know. And I haven't seen her since that day, because I'm trying to find out where she is, if she's still in England or somewhere, if she's still alive. But anyhow, I have no idea where she is. So I went with the people that I was assigned to. By the time we got to this people's house, it was Friday afternoon, and she showed me around, and the children were there. They had 4 children, grown-ups already, 2 sons and 2 daughters. The 2 daughters were married, and 1 son was married. And then she said to me, well, when Monday morning came around, she said, well, the schools are closed now, so I cannot register you for school, but when September comes around, you'll go to school. In the meantime, what are you going to do with yourself? So they had their own little factory. They were making men's trousers. And her daughter, her younger daughter, was working there. So her younger daughter was working there. And she showed me around. She showed me what to do. I never worked in my life. I didn't know anything about work. But she showed me how to work different machines, sew on buttons and do this and do that and things by hand. Twice a day we had to make tea for all the people that were there. Well, all the people that worked there were just a few people, like maybe 6 people altogether, small place. But they were all older men, like in their 60s. And there was one woman there. She was 64 years old. And I'm sure they knew English, but between them they were talking in Yiddish. I understood Yiddish, but I couldn't speak it. And so that's why I never learned English, because I didn't go to school. September came around and I was just working there every day, 5 days a week. Well, this younger daughter that took me every day, she was expecting her first baby. So finally when the baby came, she said, I'm sorry, I can't come anymore here. And by now you know already what to do. Well, I knew what to do, but there were the 2 of us working. But now only being me by myself, I had to do the work for 2. So instead of going in 8 o'clock in the morning, I used to go in. Instead of going 9, I used to go in 8 o'clock and then 7 o'clock. Instead of going home 5, I used to work till 6, 7, 8, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I didn't even know where I was coming or going anymore. So it was very hard. I did not get paid for my work. I was lucky I got food because she used to take away my ration anyhow. I had the children's book, which I was supposed to get bananas, oranges, but I never knew what a banana or an orange looked like. I never had butter or anything. But anyhow, I just couldn't keep up. And one day, I was waiting for the bus to go to work, and all of a sudden I wake up and I'm in the hospital, and I didn't even know how I got there. And the doctor bent over me and he talks to me, and I couldn't understand a word he was saying. I don't even know how long I was there already, maybe a year or so, I don't remember. All I know is I never went to school, nobody spoke English to me, and I couldn't speak a word English. So the doctor didn't know what to do. I was burning up with a fever. So he knew I had a fever, but he was trying to talk to me, asking my name, who I am. I couldn't tell him that. Maybe my name I could say. But anyhow, he called somebody from the Bloomsbury house, which was for the refugee children that came to England. And Miss Feldman came over to the hospital to see me. She was very, very nice, but I have never met her before. And she said to me, how comes you don't speak any English? You're here already a long time in England. Don't you learn English in school? So I said, school? I never went to school. So she said, well, what do you do with yourself all day? So I told her, well, I'm working in a factory. So she says, do you have a permit to work? So I said, what's a permit? I didn't know what she's talking about. So she said, well, I'm sorry, you cannot go back to these people, because they had people coming and investigating if the children were all right. But every time they came to this lady's house, she used to say, well, if it was a weekday, she's in school, and was on the weekend, oh, she's out with a girlfriend to a movie or something. They never got to see me. So they didn't know, they just assumed I was all right. And then I couldn't go back to these people anymore. And they were going to put me in a hostel. I didn't even know what a hostel is. But to me, it was like being in a prison, you know, like I was scared. I was so afraid of any human being. So I said, no, I don't know if I want to go to a hostel. But she said, you cannot be by yourself. You're still a minor. So I said, well, my sister is 2 years older than me. By the way, she did come over on domestic service, but I never saw her. I could write to her now and then. But then, I don't know how many of you know about the Blitz of London, when the bombs were falling, you know, the German planes were coming over and all this. So a lot of families, especially with children, moved out of London and into the country where it was safer. There were no bombs, and London was the capital, so naturally they were bombing, but in small towns they didn't bomb. So the people that my sister was working for, they also moved out. They wanted to sleep at night because they couldn't sleep all night with the bombs falling. So they took her along. So I said, well, my sister is somewhere in, I don't even know where she was. I had an address. So they said, well, if your sister would come and stay with you, then we can release you. Otherwise, they kept me in the hospital. They wouldn't let me out. So finally, I wrote to my sister and I told her that I cannot be by myself, but if you come to London, we could have a room and be together. So she says, well, what am I going to do in London? I don't know how to work. I never worked in my life. All I know is to clean houses and serve food, you know. So I said, well, I'll teach you. I know how to work. So it was going back and forth. Finally, she decided, all right, she didn't want to leave me alone, and she came. So she came to London. They released me from the hospital, and we rented a little room. There was one little bedroom there, but we didn't need more anyhow, because after all, every night we had to go to the shelter and sleep. And this Miss Feldman got us a job somewhere downtown in London, and we were working, and we managed. Of course, minimum wages, but besides the point. And we managed. Every night we came from work, we took our little bundle, blanket, and a pillow, and went to the shelter. In the morning we get up, go to work. Twice a week we had to do fire watching, from 12 midnight till 6 a.m. And 7 o'clock we had to go to work. Don't ask me where we slept. We didn't. Well, anyhow, it was very, very hard. But there was one consolation. It was not because I was Jewish that I was in danger. Everybody who lived in London was in danger, no matter who they were. See, it wasn't picked out like in Germany, we were picked out. There, everybody was in danger. I remember people I worked with got bumped out. You know, they had no place. But then they started putting up prefabricated houses, which was beautiful. They put them up in one day. It was 1 or 2 bedrooms, living room, kitchen, bathroom. I said, gee, this looks nicer than where I live. But thank God I wasn't bumped out. I was not jealous on them. But a lot of people I knew got killed. It was a direct hit, you know. So it was really very, very hard, very hard. We didn't get much sleep. I remember one night I came home from work and I said to my sister, oh my God, I can't move. And I just fell on the bed. So she didn't want to go to the shelter by herself. So she laid down on the bed too, and we slept all night there. Next morning we went to work. Next evening we came home, we go to the shelter. Everybody jumped and said, where were you last night? We missed you. You know, you go there every night. Everybody knows you already. So I said, oh, we slept upstairs last night. I was too tired, I couldn't move. I said, you slept upstairs? You saw the bombs last night? I said, gee, there were bombs last night? I didn't hear a thing. I was dead to the world. So anyhow, next morning we go upstairs and there were bombs, you know, just from the shaking sometimes, ceiling came down. So when I came to my little room upstairs, there was a piece of the ceiling right on my pillow, where my head would have been if I would have slept there. This was the next morning. I can imagine if I would have slept there, I would have been killed. So that, you know. Well, anyhow, I've tell you about lots of things that happened. I could go on and on and on. I don't know if I have enough time anyhow. But one morning we got up in the morning and all the pipes were busted. Water pipes, gas pipes, electricity, everything was busted. We had no water, we had nothing. We're standing out in the street, it was cold. And I'm looking at the building across the street from us. And there was on the roof a little fire bomb, a little piece like this. A pail of water would have turned it out. But we had no water. So we're standing there and watching that little flame going down to the top floor. There was a curtain, grabbed the curtain, grabbed the chair, and eventually the whole building went down in fire. So my sister said, what are we going to do? Should we go to work today? I said, what are we going to do at home? can't even have a drink of water. So anyhow, we changed our clothes. We went to Main Street. We had to take a bus going to the subway, and then we took the subway going downtown London. So we went to Main Street to get the bus. The buses were not running. So what are we going to do? I said, well, let's walk down to the subway. Maybe the subway's out. It was quite a long walk, but we had nothing better to do. And as we're walking down Main Street, all the buildings were burning on the right side. All the buildings on this side were burning. We're walking down Main Street. And as I said, it was a cold morning, but we were toasting. And finally, we came down to the subway. We go downstairs, trains were not running. Back upstairs. Now we're standing in the middle. Back this way or go downtown? Well, might as well go downtown. We walked all the way downtown London. We come to the building where we worked. We had to walk up 4 flights of stairs. The elevator wasn't running. Finally, we get upstairs exhausted. 4 men sitting there. And we said, sorry girls, there's no work today. We have no electricity. But if you punch your card in and you punch it out, you'll get paid for the day. So that was the best news I heard so far. And then we had to go all the way back home. On the way, we picked up a little food, some fish and chips on the plate. We ate them on the way with the greasy paper and everything. Couldn't cook anyhow. I don't know how they cooked. Well, anyhow, so this was Doris. I mean, I could go into details, but finally, the war was over, 1945, and 3 years later, I came to America. And as I said, I came in 1948. I met my husband in 1950. We were married in 1951. And then my little daughter came. Of course, in 1957, my son was born, but unfortunately, 11 years later, he passed away. And in 2003, we moved from New York to Colorado, and that's my story. If anybody has questions, I'll be happy to answer them. About 10 minutes, so yeah, go ahead.
Where did you finally end up living since your building burned down?
Where, in New York?
Oh no, where you were living in London.
In London? Well, we had just a room, my sister and I, and we stayed there until the war was over, and then we were told that they asked us what we want to do after this, and we decided to go to America because I remember my father said he had some relatives in New York, a brother and a sister, so we figured we'll write to them, and they sent us affidavits. So we came to New York. Thank you, Rabbi. Yes, Jessie?
While you were in London, was there any oppression of the Jews? Was there any animosity there at all?
About Jews?
Yeah.
Not that I heard of. It's just before 48, when it was going on in Israel and Palestine, it was British, and it was a little bit uncomfortable for me because they took me in, they gave me refuge, and they were fighting the British, Of course, Israel, the Jews wanted to have a homeland, which we never had. And the lady that was sitting next to me at work, and she said, those Jews, what they're doing to our boys, But I didn't hear nothing. I couldn't answer, But otherwise, nobody took anything personal to me. The only thing is, if we spoke a different language, they complained. because they had guilty conscience. They thought we were talking about them. So they put a big sign on in the factory. Anybody caught speaking a foreign language is going to be fired. And by the way, I was considered an enemy alien in England. Even so, in Germany, I was born in Germany, but I was never a German citizen because my parents were Polish. So when I was 14 years old, I had to go to the Polish consulate and get a passport, a Polish passport, born in Berlin. And I came to England on a Polish passport. But here I'm a German, so I don't know. Yes?
Tell them the story when we came back to Germany.
Yes, I thought somebody would ask me.
Have you ever been back?
I'm drying up, but I'm glad we have water. Yes, years later, exactly 50 years later, we were invited by the mayor of Berlin for a free, all-expensive paid trip to Berlin. Me and I can bring my spouse. He didn't want to go, but he didn't want me to go by myself. My sister was also invited and her husband, but by the time the papers came through, her husband passed away. He had a heart attack. So she took one of her daughters. But anyhow, the four of us went. It was April, I think, 1989, exactly 50 years, almost 50 years. I left July 39, and this was April 89. And at that time, the wall was still up in Berlin. It was divided. East Berlin was Russian occupancy, West Berlin was American and British. So when we came to Berlin, they put us up in a first-class hotel. They gave us the royal treatment. They were very nice. I felt guilty what they did to us. But the lady that was in charge told us, we're very sorry, the wall is still up and we cannot take you to the east side, but the west side, everything, we can take you. And that year the wall came down in 89, but not when I was there. So every morning after breakfast, we had a conference and they gave us everything what we're going to do that day. As a matter for the whole week, they gave us what to do. Every day they took us somewhere. They were so nice to us. And one day they took us to a concert, they took us to a play in English, they took us to a museum, they took us to on a boat ride, and sometimes for lunch, sometimes we had dinner like Friday night. The Jewish committee gave us a Shabbat dinner, which was wonderful. And every day we went somewhere. But then she said, is anybody here that would like to go over to the east side? So everybody raised their hand. Naturally, I wanted to go because I was born on the east side. Well, east side is not, means a bad neighborhood. It's just like you have east and north, you know, like in New York, 5th Avenue divides east and west, you know. And we could walk right there from where I lived to the west side. There was a park and there was a Brandenburger Gate, you know, what they have, and we could walk right there. But naturally, my parents were buried in the cemetery in Berlin. I would like to go and see that. I would like to go and see the house I lived in, where I grew up, the school I went to, and all this. So I think it was Thursday, we had a day on our own. And she said she apologized a million times. She couldn't take us. You're on your own. Not only this, it was one city, and we had to have different money. We couldn't use the money that we used in West Berlin and East, so we had to change some money. But we could only go for the day. We were not allowed to sleep over. So I didn't know how much money I will need, but anyhow, we changed some of the money, and we had to go to Checkpoint Charlie. Remember that? This is where the Russians were guarding, and when we came there, There was like a balcony, just like this, but there were no benches there. And the Russians were standing there with the machine guns. And my sister's daughter, she was just a young girl, so she says, "Oh, Auntie Doris, this looks like on the movies, it's scary." I said, "Helen, this is not a movie, this is real life." And then we had to go through a curtain, they check your passport, and then you go out on the other side, you cannot come back. Then my sister went in after me, and was standing waiting for her, and I said, "Oh my God, she's in there a long time already." So I wanted to touch the curtain to see what, he put that machine gun right in front of me, the big rifle. "Where you going?" I said, "My sister, she'll come out when she's ready." I got so scared. Well, then finally she came out. They ask you, what is your purpose going to the east side? And they ask you, maybe she had more answers or questions, who knows. In the other, right? Well, anyhow, then we went to, I said, well, let's go to the cemetery. So we're standing there waiting. It was like a, what do you call it? It's not a bus, but the train, they had the thing, like a trolley bus, yeah. So we're waiting. So it was an elderly woman, German woman, standing there. And I said to her in German, "What number trolley goes to the cemetery, Weißensee?" So she says to me, "There are two cemeteries. Is it the Jewish cemetery or the other one?" I said, "The Jewish cemetery." She said, "Oh yeah, number so-and-so." She told me what number trolley to get. And she says, "I'm going to visit my daughter, and she lives just a little bit before Weißensee, before the cemetery. I'll tell you, when I get off, you have like 2-3 stops to go." So I said, "And how much do I pay?" Because I just changed my other German money to Eastern. I said, "How much do I pay?" I show her the money. So she says, "Oh, no, you don't pay this money. You get a card, and they clip it each time you get on." So she said, "Here, I have an extra card." I said, "Let me pay you for this." No. She wouldn't take money. Very nice lady. And she gave me the card. I said, she didn't want to take money. What can I do? Anyhow, we get on the trolley, and we're sitting down. She's sitting next to me. And I was waiting for the conductor to come down to punch the card. He never did. We went all the way and even going back. And I said, no wonder she gave it away for free. They don't punch the card anyhow. Well, anyhow, she got off. And then she says, "You go 2-3 stops further, and that's the cemetery." I said, "Thank you very much. Have a nice day with your daughter." And we went a little further, then we went to the cemetery, and there was the building for the office. We went into the office, and there was a man sitting there, and I said, "Well, I came all the way from New York, from America, and my parents were buried here. I didn't even think anything was left there after all that war what was going on." So he says to me, "Well, what are your parents? What's your mother's name and your father's name?" So when we gave them my mother's name and my father's name, he looked it up in the book. I said, "Oh my God, they got books here?" It didn't even take him 2 minutes. And he said, "Oh yeah, here's your mother and here's your father." Their names were there. After all these years, 50 years later, their names were there. I was amazed. But Germans are real very particular. Anyhow, he says to me, he gave me a piece of paper with a map on it, and he shows me with a pencil, "We are right here, this is the office. When you come out from here, you go this way, you go this way, row so-and-so, and grave so-and-so, and that's your parents." Okay, we went and we looked for the map, and we went and we found them, and I recognized my mother's grave, because my mother died 2 years before my father. And I recognized the stone and everything was there. It was very emotional. I introduced my parents to my husband. They never met him. And we took pictures. I still have them. If you come to my house, I show them to you. And we have pictures with the grave. And then we left. And I said, we wanted to take another trolley. Then there was a little coffee shop there. And I said, so he's after 1, it's okay. And Martin says to me, "Would you like some coffee?" So I said, "Oh, a cup of coffee sounds good. We haven't had anything since breakfast." So we go in there. Well, on the west side, people were in streets like like New York, like here, like you see in Boulder. The stores were full with merchandise and food and everything. You only needed money to buy all this stuff. But when we went into that little coffee shop, there were a few tables there. There was a glass counter, and there was 2 or 3 plates with something, a little piece on it, a piece of cake or muffin or something. And the whole place was empty. The whole counter was empty. So he says to me, would you like one of these pieces of cake with your coffee? And I lost my appetite when I saw that. There was nothing there. So I said, I think we'll just have the coffee. And they were, over there was a table, and there were 3 guys sitting there, 2 or 3, staring at us. And I said, gee, if a stare could kill, I think I would have been dead already. I see these German guys, they were staring at me. I was so uncomfortable there. I wanted to get out. But he put the coffee on the table already. I said, oh, let's. And I turned my back. I didn't want to look at them, but I felt their eyes at my back. And I was very uncomfortable. Anyhow, we had the coffee. I couldn't wait to get out. Then we get out, we took the trolley again, and we went down to the place where I used to live. And we took pictures of that too, which I still have in my house. And I showed them, this used to be our living room. We were on the 3rd floor. This was our bedroom. Then we went to the back, and I said, there's the kitchen and the dining room. And I wanted to go upstairs, but the house next to it was down. And this one didn't look shabby, you know, who knows. So he wouldn't let me go upstairs. He said, you don't know who's on the stairs. I might kill you. I said, I want to go up and see my old room where I grew up. He wouldn't let me go up. Anyhow, so we left. Then I said, okay, let's go to my school. So as we were walking down, I said, let's walk on the other side. He said, oh, what's the difference this side here? I said, when I was a kid, I was only allowed to walk on one side. I was not allowed to walk on the other side. Now I want to walk on the other side. Okay. So as we're walking, all of a sudden somebody in back of me says, hey, Doris. I said, oh my God, you could hardly see anybody in the street. There were 2 guys there, 2 brothers that we met on the plane coming from America to Germany. And as we were going on the plane, you know, it was all-night plane, we got to talk, and they asked me, where are you from? Where did you grow up? And I told them the street. I said, oh, I lived in that street too. I was number so-and-so, I was number 11. Because I think it was 15, you know, those buildings. There's 11 here and 15. It's right next, there's just a street in between. So when I saw those 2 brothers, I said, I told you this was my house. This I used to live in. I said, oh, this was my house. I grew up in there. And he says, so I said, well, we're going to go to the school now. He said, oh, we were there already. We're going to the cemetery. I said, oh, we were already in the cemetery. We turned around. But we only had 1 day that we had to be back that night. Yes.
What about the ice cream?
Oh, that was on the way back.
Oh, okay.
Well, anyhow, we went to school, and when I came to the street, I said, gee, is that the street I went to school? I used to walk every day there. And then I had to go to the corner and look at the name. I said, yeah, Riekestraße, that was the name. And I looked, number 53, that was the number. But it looked so different, it was so deserted, you know. So I went to that school from kindergarten up to 8th grade. I graduated from that school. And downstairs we used to have in the milk or hot chocolate, especially in the winter. We used to buy the hot chocolate. So kindergarten, the classes were downstairs. But when we graduated to 1st grade, we went upstairs. And I felt so grown up. I was walking up 1 flight of stairs. I was in 1st grade, no more kindergarten for me. And he says to me, where are you going? I said, I'm going to my classroom. So I walked upstairs 1 flight. There's nobody there, it was quiet. I said, this used to be my classroom. There was a woman sitting there at the desk, not my teacher. And she says, I said, I used to go to school here 50 years ago. So she says, well, this is not a school anymore. This is social service building now. So I said, oh. Well, I didn't think there was a Jewish school there anymore. Well, anyhow, I said, well, is the synagogue still here in the back? She said, oh, yeah, it's still here. But I think it's locked. You'll have to go to the superintendent and get a key. I said, okay. So my mouth was dry like it's now anyhow. So we went downstairs to the superintendent, we rang the doorbell. And, bye-bye. And a young boy, about 16, opened the door. I said, that's the superintendent. So anyhow, so I told him we came from America, and I used to go to school here. Is it possible we could see the synagogue? He says, well, my father is not here right now, but I'll get the key. I said, thank you. Anyhow, we went back, we got the key, and he put on a yarmulke, you know what that means, a skull head cap, and he went and opened up the door for us. So when I came in there, over here was still clothes racks, all the way down these hangers. The hangers were still there. We used to put our coats on there in the winter especially. And I come into the synagogue, the red carpet, seats to both sides, balcony upstairs for the women. And I said, oh my God. I graduated from this school, you know, and every year the graduating class, they take them to the synagogue, the principal goes up on the stage, and all the kids are standing in line, and she hands out the diplomas, shake their hand, congratulations, and all this. And as I'm walking down this aisle, and I saw my principal standing up there, my knees were shaking. I saw myself standing in line to get my diploma and shake her hand, and all of a sudden, Martin comes over and he says, are you all right? And I said, where am I? I thought I was back, a little girl graduating from grammar school. And then we took the trolley bus again, going down to Checkpoint Charlie. And on the way down, we got off, and we passed by an ice cream parlor. So he says, well, we didn't eat anything all day. So he says, would you like some ice cream? I said, oh, that sounds good. So we went in. I remember when I was a little girl, we could buy, that was long before the war, I could buy ice cream, but we could not sit down and eat it in the store. We had to take it out. What later happened, I don't know. This was long before, 2 or 3 years before. So anyhow, I said to him, but I want to sit down at the table. He said, well, where else would you have your ice cream? He didn't know what I was talking about. So anyhow, we came in, we sat down at the table, and a German woman was waiting on me. And I told her in German, I want some ice cream, a Schlagsahne, that's the cream, whipped cream on top. And we ate our ice cream, and she served us and everything. And it was strange to me. Should I talk about the bathroom too? In Germany, you have to pay for bathrooms. You cannot go free. But I forgot, you know, after 50 years, you don't remember those little things. So I said, should I go? Shouldn't I go?
I'd like to say something. No, this is while we are in Germany, Berlin. The lady the guide, was a very nice German woman. She was many, many times in Israel, and she understood the Hebrew. She said one day, would anybody with a stomach who could take something, bad things, would you like to go? I will take you somewhere which not many people would like to go there. I said, yeah, I'll go. We went. This was next to the big jail in Berlin. A building as big as this, maybe a little bigger. We walk in, we open up gates. We're walking blood on the floor, on the walls, all over. Books on the walls. This was the place where Hitler killed over 1,600 top generals
His own people.
who were against him by hanging on hooks, pulling out their arms, and letting
His
them
own people. His own
slowly.
people. His own
His
people.
own people in
Because they were
Berlin.
against him.
Terrible thing to say. That I wanted to tell you.
You can stay here. Anybody has any questions? Yes.
When you were in London, did you know what was happening in Europe at the time, or did you not have any information?
Not too much. We knew it was bad, but we didn't really know about concentration camps and all these things. We found out later. We didn't have television at that time, and we had radio, but we never had time to listen to them. As I said, we worked all day, all night we were there. Twice a week we had to do fire watching from midnight till 6 a.m.